We have made it through the month of May here in year number 1 at the Chicago White Sox franchise here on MLB the Show 25. And it's been bad through 2 months to say the least. Maybe not as bad as I expected, but it still has not been pretty, sitting at a record of 20-36. Today we're going to get through all of June, and we're also going to cover scouting here in season number 1. We're going to take our first look at the draft class. The draft will be in the next episode, so I'm excited to get ourselves familiarized with some of these prospects. Believe it or not, we do not have the worst record in baseball. The Cardinals and Rockies are both worse, which is impressive considering our team ERA is over 5. So if you remember in the last episode, we introduced the wheel. The wheel has been brought into our series to add a level of immersion, randomness, and unpredictability. I think it's a realistic and fun way to give us unique scenarios for our team. So both Brian Ramos and Justin Anderson landed on spitting image, which means their ratings will change solely based on performance. How they play through the month of May will dictate their ratings. So if Brian Ramos has a good month of May, for instance, his ratings will go up. But if he struggles, they will go down. So I'm doing this based on each hitting statistic separately, and I was able to calculate them. So Ramos had 87 at-bats here in the month of May. He hit 241, 298 on-base percentage, 425 slugging, which is quite good, 723 OPS, 8% walk rate, 21% K rate, 5 home runs, and he drove in 13 RBIs. He hit quite well against righties in particular, hit 267. All 5 of his home runs came against righties, but he struggled against lefties. In 31 at-bats, he only hit 195, and he didn't go deep once. So since he struggled against lefties, his ratings against lefties are going to go down. But since he played well against righties, they will go up. He wasn't great with runners in scoring position. He only went 5 for 26. That's a 192 average. But he gave us some big moments, including the big homer and extra innings against the Cubs and the walk-off against the Mariners. And I figured those deserve some bonus points. So I used some of my test simulations and found players with similar ratings to see how much I should boost him. For instance, all of these guys have similar power ratings, and I wanted to look at their at-bat per home run ratio. For Ramos, he hit home runs per every 11.2 at-bats against righties, which is really, really good. So his power against righties is going to take a noticeable boost. That's at the level of Shohei Ohtani's at-bats per home run. So his power against righties is going to go up a lot, but most of his other stats, for the most part, are going to stay intact. Since he hit 267 against righties, his contact will go up quite a bit, since his contact against righties is only a 46. But he struggled against lefties, so they are going to go down. This is ultimately what I landed on. +3 contact versus righties, -2 versus lefties, +13 power against righties. He earned it after hitting the ball as well as he did in terms of power. -2 power versus lefties, -3 plate vision, +3 plate discipline. I thought his walk rate was impressive, and then +2 clutch. 1 for the home run against the Cubs, and then +1 for the walk-off against the Mariners. As for Justin Anderson, he had a very strong month of May in AAA, but that's what we have to keep in mind. Since he's in AAA, I'm not going to give him as much of a boost. Obviously, we gave him the wheel because he struggled in the month of April to begin with. And while he did have a strong month, there were some statistics that he didn't do great with. I thought his strikeout rate was a little bit lower than it should have, so I ended up knocking that. Again, I was looking for pitchers with similar per 9 ratings, specifically guys who are in AAA. So I'm not going to compare him to Paul Skeens. I'm not going to compare him to Chris Sale, but rather guys who are rated a lot more where he is. Maybe not these free agents. There aren't many guys who fit the criteria here. But anyways, regardless, what I landed on for Anderson is that he will go up by 1 in hits per 9, -2 in Ks per 9, +1 in walks per 9, and then since he did not allow a single home run, he would go up by 5 in home runs per 9. So a really strong month for Justin Anderson, but again, it was in AAA, which is obviously a lower skill level. He played against minor league hitters, whereas Brian Ramos, for instance, hit 5 home runs against 5 major league right-handed pitchers. Let me know if you thought my stat changes for both of them were fair, not enough, or maybe too much. I'm curious to hear your feedback down below in the comments. And as always, I'm always looking for more ideas to add to the wheel. So if you have more, feel free to share them in the comments. And of course, at the end of the episode, I'm going to need you guys to point out a player who stood out for the month of June. But first, we have to pick out who we're going to have spin the wheel for the month of May. There were a couple guys I had my eye on. There was a lot of support for Nick Maton, who had a really good month. There was a lot of support for Drew Thorpe. And ultimately, I think we are going to go with Thorpe, given that he has been so good this season. I want to give him an opportunity at the wheel spin and see if it helps or hurts him, because ultimately it is a risk. There are some negatives on the wheel, including the elbow soreness scenario, which gives him the possibility of Tommy John surgery, just like real life for him. So hopefully we do not land on that. But I did want to potentially reward him for what's been a great season so far. He struggled in his last start against the Mets, but otherwise he has been ridiculously good. So let's meet the wheel again. I have 10 separate scenarios on the wheel. I got some questions about how I can make the wheel fair in the last episode. So for the most part, half of these are good, half of these are bad. There are a couple neutral ones as well. So here are our scenarios on the wheel, including, of course, the elbow soreness one, which is probably the one that pops out the most. That's the yellow one. It's time to spin that wheel. Here we go for Drew Thorpe. And we land on boosted. Okay, this is a really good one. This might be the best one. Plus 20 boost to all of his per 9 stats for the month of June. After June, we will bring his stats back down to where they were, regardless of how well he performs. But here in June, he is going to be rated like a superstar. Now, he already has 88 hits per 9, so that's just going to go up to a 99. But his other per 9s and his pitching clutch will all go up by 20. I was surprised to see that he went all the way up to a 91 after these changes, and at first I felt like that feels like a bit much. But it's only for 1 month. It's only like 5 or 6 starts. So I think it's fair, and obviously he's played well. He's earned the opportunity to not only spin the wheel, but land on something nice. I'm happy for Drew that he got something good. You know, I didn't think we would get a 90-plus overall player on our roster this quickly, and granted, it's only going to be for a month or so before his ratings go back down to what they were, but we're going to treasure this and enjoy it while we can. I do want to point out, though, that I'm not allowed to trade a player who's currently in the midst of a power-up. If I wanted to trade Drew Thorpe, I would have to move his ratings back down before trading them away. Now, obviously, I'm not looking to trade him. I would say he's probably the best asset on our entire roster. But hypothetically, in the future, I'm not allowed to use the wheel to boost up someone's ratings just to trade them away immediately. That's one of the ways I'm making the wheel as fair as possible. I got some questions after the last episode about the fairness of the wheel, and I'm glad you guys asked. Last episode's unique element I'm adding to the series was obviously the wheel itself. But today's element also has to do with the wheel, but how I will incorporate it for the other teams across the league. So obviously I'm not going to give every team a wheel spin each month, because that would be 30 wheel spins per episode. That would be way too much. Obviously, that goes without saying. But what I'm going to do is at the end of each season, I'm going to pick 2 players for each team. One guy who performed above expectations and one guy who maybe failed expectations. And I'm going to give each of them a wheel spin before the start of the next season. Most of the scenarios on the wheel for those teams are going to be positive. That way, those guys are going to get an opportunity to have their ratings go up, and it's going to be an overall fair rating system that we are not going to use to our advantage, but more so every team has it, and every team has the opportunity to get better or worse as a result. I was going through some minor league stats, and a guy who really stood out to me in the month of May was Colson Montgomery. We used him a little bit in the last episode. We talked about his rough April, but he has been fantastic in the month of May, particularly over the last 10 games, with an OPS nearing 1,100. I don't want to rush him up to the big leagues. I'm not ready to call him up because I haven't seen him play consistently, but it's great to see him playing a lot better, and hopefully he can keep it going because obviously he is one of our top prospects. So we're going to do some simulating. We head to Baltimore first at the end of May. Then 7 interdivision games against the Tigers and the Royals, setting us up for a pretty challenging month after that. So in this first game against the Orioles, Luis Robert has already homered twice. He's driven in 5 of our 6 runs, and we're looking to get him a 3rd long ball against Gregory Soto, the hard-throwing lefty. Lou Bob only went deep once in the month of April, but here in May, he's been on a power surge, up to 11 home runs on the year, including the 2 tonight. Now, for most righties, The lefty on the mound gives them a better matchup, but Robert's power rating against lefties is actually a lot lower. Doesn't matter as he rips it into the left center gap. That's not a homer. It'll stay in the park, but it rolls to the wall, and he will waltz into second with a double. 3 for 3 with 2 homers, a double, and a walk. What a game from Luis Robert. We may or may not be involved in the final out. We are now losing 7-6. Tyler O'Neill hit a 2-run shot to put the Orioles ahead, and we need Mike Tauchman to come up big with Luis Robert on deck, hoping to get one more crack at it against Felix Bautista, as this one is put on the ground to short. Play is made by Gunnar Henderson, and the Orioles win the first game of the day by the final score of 7-6. Luis Robert did what he could, 3 for 3, reached base safely in every single one of his at-bats, went deep twice, drove in 5, but the rest of the offense did not do enough. The only run came in the second off of a solo shot by Brian Ramos. First game with his 65 power rating against righties, and he took advantage as he ended up going deep in his first at-bat. But that's the only source of runs we got. Other than those two, the rest of the team really struggled. Davis Martin was mediocre, the bullpen was not great, and Braden Montgomery, one of our top hitting prospects, broke his foot. Beaumont had a great April, struggled in May, kind of the opposite of Colson Montgomery, and unfortunately he'll be shelved for a little while. Here in this last game against the Orioles, we're down 2-1, trying to avoid the sweep, but Felix Bautista's on the mound. Look at Kyle Teal swinging out of his shoes. Teal only hitting 179. It's been a learning curve for him through his first 2 weeks in the bigs. Comes down to Dominic Fletcher. What a take. Bautista doesn't like it. The fans don't either as the boo birds come out. And, well, honestly, the fans are kind of right to be upset. That pitch certainly clipped the zone. 2-2. Looks at another one. Another impressive take for Fletcher with a runner on first. Count is now full for Dom with Nick Maton on deck. This one is fouled away. Barely hit that one pretty well. Obviously, we got to use Felix Bautista a little bit in the Giants series last year. I'm now seeing the other side of it, and let me tell you, it is not fun hitting against him. He is nasty. Full count on the ground to second. Jorge Mateo makes the play, and the Orioles sweep the White Sox. Certainly not the start to the episode we hoped for. We lost the first game 7-6, obviously. The second one we lost 4-0. Rough day in the office for the offense with 7 scoreless from Tomoyuki Sugano. And then obviously in this game, the offense struggled again. We only scored 1 run coming off of an RBI by Nick Maton. Drew Thorpe with a great start. He does not get the win, though. I feel like Drew Thorpe's teammates must hate him. Either the bullpen blows it or the offense sucks whenever he starts. We get offered this trade from the Phillies, young catcher and Rafael Marchand, in exchange for Michael A. Taylor. Taylor would be like the 6th outfielder for the Phillies. I don't think they would do this, so because of that, I ultimately said no. Let's travel to this series against Detroit. We lost the first 2 games against the Tigers. It's a 4-game set, so the Tigers can win the series with a win today, but we had the bases loaded. Big spot for Vaughn, who pops up the first pitch against Jason Foley. And it'll be recovered by Spencer Torkelson. 3 walks and a homer for Torque on opening day in real life. The gritty Tigers demon is back. Now tied at 1 in the top of the 9th. The Tigers have 2 aboard for Riley Green. We're going to take James Karinchak out. We're going to bring in our closer, Penn Murphy. Not a save opportunity, but I want our best reliever in the game against arguably the Tigers' best position player. Riley behind 0-2, puts it on the ground. This could be 2. Vaughn to Maton. Over to the pitcher, Murphy. It's a 3-6-1 double play. And the Tigers are held off the board. Let's go top 10. We did not walk it off. Surprise, surprise. Detroit has 2 runners on and 1 away for Spencer Torkelson. 1 for 3 today. And Torque ignites this one into left center. Fletcher and Robert can only watch it fly. 397 feet for Torque. His 11th home run of the year. And the Detroit Tigers take the lead 4-1. Yet another bullpen collapse from the White Sox. Such has been the course this year. Shane Murphy, whose ERA is north of 9, will come into the game for the Southsiders against the catcher Jake Rogers. This one on the ground. Vaughn with a diving play tags the base, but not before Spencer Torkelson sends a 3-run shot into the left center seats, putting the Tigers up 4-1, and, well, we did not end up scoring in the bottom of the 10th. Surprise, surprise. The White Sox are now 0-6 in today's episode, and we are in danger of getting swept again if we end up losing the last game against the Tigers. Other than that first game where Luis Robert drove in 5 runs against the Orioles, our offense has been a complete train wreck since then. We've only scored 4 runs over the last 5 games. 7 of our 9 players in the starting lineup are cold. We have to make a change in AAA. Colson Montgomery's done even better since we last checked on him. Over his last 4 games, he's homered twice. But I don't want to rush him. I thought about Zach DeLoach. He's having a really good year. Leads the International League in home runs. But we're not going to go with either of them. We are going to start with sending down Lenyn Sosa. He has been horrible. His numbers suck this year. The whole reason why we like Sosa is because he hits lefties well. He's hitting 117 against lefties this year. He's been awful. So he's got to go down to the minors, figure some things out, put the fries in the bag, buddy. And we'll be replacing him with the veteran Brandon Drury, who's been pretty solid in AAA Charlotte this year. This is a guy with some high-level experience. He won a Silver Slugger in 2022, was really good in 2023 as well. He was awful last year. No wonder why the White Sox were clearly interested in signing him. But I'm hoping he can right the ship as we lose this last game 7-0. That's 7 losses in a row. 4 runs over our last 6 games. Is this rock bottom? We've got to get it together over these next 9 games, and we started with a win! The losing streak is finally over, thank God. Bobby Dahlbeck homered. He's been impressive in a limited opportunity so far. Andrew Vaughn entered as a pinch hitter in the bottom of the 9th and walked it off. Another great start, meanwhile, for Drew Sanders, 6 2/3. I just called him Drew Sanders. I feel like I'm going to do that so many times because that's what I'm used to saying. Drew Thorpe had a really good start, 6 2/3, only let up 1 run. His ERA now at 2.05. What a stud. After the 7-game losing streak, the Gagne's starting to play kind of well. We ended up winning 2 of 3 against the Royals, and we also won the first game in Houston against the Astros. So we've won 3 of our last 4. We trail down 2-1 in the top of the 8th, but we've got 2 on and 2 outs. A huge spot for Nick Maton. Rips this one into the left center gap. Kyle Teal is in as the tying run. Can we take the lead? Rounding third, headed home. He is safe. That's Dominic Fletcher. A 2-run double for Nick Maton, who's now hitting .326. The White Sox lead it 3-2 as Brian Abreu comes out of the bullpen. If we can hold on, we can win back-to-back series against playoff teams from a year ago. Josh Rojas up, and he will line this one into right. A rocket off the bat, 111 exit velo. He hit that ball so hard that Maton's not going to be able to round third and score. Runners on the corners now. Benintendi on the 8th pitch of the at-bat. Him and Abreu in a battle. Gets a hanging pitch up and away, grounds it to second, and Brendan Rodgers flips it over to the shortstop, Jeremy Pena. Very good inning, though. Even though we left 2 guys on, we also drive into with a huge double by Nick Maton, who's been awesome ever since he got called up. Bottom 9, it's time to hang on to this lead with Penn Murphy in for the save. Mauricio Dubon already on base. Jake Myers up, lays bunt. We're going to send these first couple pitches outside. I know he's going to try to advance the runner, so we're not going to let him by sending it out of the strike zone as he fouls that one back. Now behind 0-2, and now Myers can't bunt. We've put him in a sticky spot. On the 0-2, he fouls that one as well. Myers now having to adjust. I don't know why he didn't pull his bat back on those first 2 pitches. He's brought it back up to 2-2, but he pops it in to right. Mike Tauchman is under it, and he will make the play for the first out of the inning. Top of the order is up now for Houston. Yordan Alvarez hits 3rd. I really don't want to have to face off against him, so we're going to have to get these next 2 guys out. And that starts with Jose Altuve. Bang, bang, it's a breaking ball. Liner to second, and Brian Ramos makes the play, and it'll come down to Jeremy Pena, who's had a nice game. He has a pair of hits today. The 1-0. Pena into left. Keeps it alive for the Astros. Runners on first and second for Yordan Alvarez. He's not having a great season. He's only hitting around .244, but he's one of the best clutch hitters in the league, and obviously he has elite power. Maybe the last guy in baseball I would want to see here. First pitch of the at-bat. Rips it into right center field. This could do it. The tying run is in. That's Dubon. Pena with 99 speed. You can forget about it. He's easily safe. A walk-off double. Who's your daddy? Yordan Alvarez wins it for the Astros 4-3. Another bullpen implosion from the White Sox. And it's unfortunate because we had another good start. Mike Clevenger 4 1/3, only allowing 1 run. The starting rotation has been legitimately pretty good as of recent, but we're not getting the run support and we're not having help from the bullpen. And obviously that was the case again today. 2 errors hurts as well. We did get 14 hits though. We've got to score with guys on base, and obviously the defense is going to have to be better. So we ended up getting offered a trade after this game from the Brewers, and it's an interesting one. They're offering us a familiar face with reliever Joel Payamps, who we had for a year in the Giants series last year. He was on one of our World Series winning teams. He's having a great year. He would help us out a lot, which is exactly why the Brewers would never do this. This was not a realistic trade, so I said no. We lose the last game against Houston 15-1, and look who pitched for us. That's like a dagger being ripped out of my heart. That hurts. Drew Thorpe was like 6th in All-Star voting going into the day. Now he's in like 20th. I think bro lost votes because he pitched so poorly in this game against the Astros. The bullpen also had a really bad game. They have just been comically bad for so long. I felt like I had to make a move, but there's nobody in the organization I want to call up. So I'm going to look at Grant Holman with the Athletics. He's in AAA and he is balling. He pitched a little bit last year and he was pretty good. I figure our best chance to add talented under-the-radar players is trading for really good minor leaguers who should be in the majors. There are a lot of players in AAA who are better than the guys we've got. Grant Holman is a perfect example, and I think he can be an upgrade to most of the arms we have in the pen right now. We're going to send them shortstop prospect Jacob Amaya. He's having a rough season in the minor leagues, but he's a guy with big league experience and was once regarded as a high-level prospect. Kind of similar to us acquiring Robert Passan at the beginning of the year, also from the Athletics. They're taking a chance on a potentially high-upside infield prospect for a guy in their bullpen who clearly they don't really have a vision for. We're going to be adding 2 really good arms to the bullpen, not just Holman, but also Dan Altavilla, who is off the injured list. He's been our most consistent reliever this year when healthy. We've now got to send 2 guys down to the minors, and I'm going to start with Corey Lee. He's been really bad this year, and we have 3 catchers currently up. Matt Dice has been better, so he's going to keep his spot, along with, of course, Kyle Teal. I'm also going to send down Tyler Gilbert. He's not playing very well. It's kind of self-explanatory. He's going to go down to the minors. I really want to play one of these late games against either the Diamondbacks or the Giants, so we're going to simulate through these next 3 series. Starting in Arlington, we lost the first game. Here in the second, the bases are loaded with 2 away in a tie ball game in the top of the 7th. Andrew Benintendi flies it into the outfield, and Jock Peterson is under it. He will make the play. The White Sox leave him loaded. That was a predictable result. Into the 9th, 2 on, 2 away. Chris Martin pitching against Josh Rojas, one of our better clutch hitters, who puts it on the ground over to second. Marcus Semien will make the play. That's 5 runners left on base with those 2 at-bats. And sure enough, the Rangers end up winning it. An Ezekiel Duran walk-off double in the bottom of the 9th. Texas takes it 3-2. The situational hitting on this team is abysmal. We wasted another pretty strong start from Jonathan Cannon, who's been inconsistent on a game-by-game basis, but overall, I feel like he's pitched quite well this year. Bryce Wilson is back healthy, though. He's been out since early May as we win the last game 9-0. Our first game with over 4 runs in 2.5 weeks. So Steven Wilson will go down to the minors as Bryce Wilson returns. Bryce Wilson's having quietly a really good year. We're going to talk about him a little bit later as we go to this Cardinals series. Tied at 1 in the top of the 10th inning. We ended up winning the first game 4-1. So we're looking to win the series here. 2 on, 2 away for Brendan Donovan. We know he's a very good clutch hitter from the Giants series last year, but he flies it out into left. It is caught by Dominic Fletcher. Let's see if we can win the game and thus the series. Here in the bottom of the 10th, we've got 2 on, 2 outs. Big at bat here for Dominic Fletcher. It looks like Kyle Teal probably got a base hit, but he could not score Brian Ramos. Here is Fletcher. Pops up the first pitch behind the plate, and it will be caught as Ivan Herrera is under it to make the grab. So we are still tied at 1 going into the top of the 11th. And unfortunately for us, Wilson Contreras, who was already 3 for 3, hit a 2-run shot to take the lead off of Penn Murphy. So it's now 3-1. Bottom 11, Luis Robert is up with 2-1 and 2 away as the winning run against Ryan Helsley, the flame-throwing closer. Lou Bob sits behind in the count, 1-2. He's 0 for 4 today, 0 for 6 in this series. The tying run is at first, winning run at the plate, and Robert checks his swing. Close call, did not go around, and the game stays alive. High power rating against righties, but he does have a low clutch rating. Here's the 2-2 on its way for Robert. Another close call, takes it for ball 3. Robert, by the way, I think is a walk or two away from tying his career high in walks, which is impressive because keep in mind we are still in the month of June. 3-2 on the way, grounds it to first. Contreras makes the play, and the Cardinals win at 11-3. That would have been ball 4 if he let it go. As good as his plate discipline has been this year, he should have let that one by. The Cardinals win it 3-1. What a game from Contreras. It really was a one-man show for them offensively. He went 4 for 4 with a homer, including the game winner. The rest of the team only had 2 hits, but that is all they needed. Our offense did not do enough. Drew Thorpe, another great start, but yet another game where the offense struggles and the bullpen does not help him out. Poor Drew. He may never win a game again. Now on to this series against Toronto. We lost the last game 8-6 against the Cardinals. Top 9, it is a 2-1 ball game with Nick Maton up. That was a very close call. Should have been strike 3, but it gets called as a ball. Doesn't matter. He swings at a slider down near his legs. We lost the first game against Toronto 4-3, so we're trying to avoid losing the series, but Bobby Dahlbeck swings at the low slider. Plate discipline has not been pretty here, and that's why it's fitting that we're going to bring up Mr. Walks himself, Luis Robert, off the bench as a pinch hitter. Runner on first, the 3-2. This one is chopped over to third. Did not hit that one particularly well, and the play is made by Ernie Clement. 2-1 win for the Blue Jays. Another losing streak on tap here for the White Sox. We've dropped 4 games in a row, losing this one 2-1. Another really good performance by the starting pitcher, Davis Martin, but yet another really bad game from the offense. Martin was struggling coming into the day. I wanted to send him down, but there was nobody in the minors to replace him with. Well, he's had a really good month of June. His record is now 1-8. Obviously, that's not great. Hey, that rhymed. But he's played well over his last few starts as we get offered this trade from the Rays. Drew Rasmussen for Mike Tauchman. No idea why the Rays would do this. His ERA has been in the 2s 5 years in a row. Again, this would help us out so much. They do need an outfielder, but I don't see why they would trade one of the better relievers in baseball for him. We would win the last game against the Blue Jays 4-0. Bryce Wilson with 8 scoreless innings. Wilson's been on fire since coming back from the injury with 2 really good games. And through 10 starts this year, he's been fantastic. 2.52 ERA, 1.12 whip. He's had a couple of hiccups, but he's been awesome for us this year. Really, the entire rotation is playing well at the moment, and it's becoming a legitimate strength for us. We've had some other good starts. 4 scoreless for Davis Martin. Jared Schuster with 5 scoreless in that 9-0 win against Texas. And as I talked about with Martin, he's been really good here in the month of June. He's only let up 3 runs in 19 innings. And that's with Jonathan Cannon playing well. Obviously, we know how good Drew Thorpe has been. And Jairo Iriarte is playing solid too. The rotation's been legitimately good for this team over the last month or so. It's just that we have an unserious offense and an unserious bullpen. So I'm going to play this first game here against the Diamondbacks. I figured I have to pitch with Drew Thorpe today, given his ratings boosts. I know we've already pitched with him this year. I kind of wanted to use Bryce Wilson, given how good he's been, but I figured I can just do it instead in the next episode because we've got to, use Thorpe today with the special occasion. Here's a look at both lineups, and here's a look at Drew Thorpe with the White Sox rocking the City Connect jerseys. He's 2-2 in 15 games this year. Meet no decisions, man. He might have the worst quality start to win ratio ever. He pitches well, but his team does not help him win games. It was like one of those really good DeGrom years with the Mets where he was just the best pitcher on the planet and his record was under 500 because the rest of his team sucked. There's a 2-out base hit by Ketel Marte, one of the best players in this league. That'll bring up the third baseman, Eugenio Suarez, with a grounder to third. Josh Rojas fields it cleanly. Throw over to Bobby Dahlbeck is in time. Bobby Dahlbeck's going to continue to play a lot given that he has been awesome since we called him up. It's only been like 40 at-bats, but the dude's playing really well. As we go to the bottom of the first, we will take a look at Merrill Kelly, the veteran righty who's been really good this year. 2.95 ERA, 1.32 whip. Kelly's been a rock in this Arizona rotation and a big reason why the Diamondbacks are towards the top of the wild card race in the National League. These guys are playing some good ball this year. A good team that we have in town for 3. Here is Josh Rojas, sends this one into the gap. Should go for extras, and it will. That one will roll to the wall, and Rojas makes it into second with a stand-up double. Rojas had a really strong month of April. He was shaky in May, but he's been a lot better here in the month of June as our leadoff hitter. That'll bring up Luis Robert having another very solid month. Bloops this one into the shallow outfield, and that's going to drop for a hit. We're not going to advance the runner. He's going to head back to second. But a bloop single for Luis Robert, and we've got 2 runners on with nobody out. How are we going to find a way to screw this up? 1 gone here for Brian Ramos. He's had a solid month of June with his new ratings as he draws a walk, and the bases are loaded. Big opportunity here for Andrew Vaughn to either do something cool or mess up. The 1-2 pitch on the way here from Merrill Kelly, and Vaughn puts it on the ground. Diving play at third by Suarez to second, over to first. 5-4-3, inning-ending double play. The White Sox score 0. That was a remarkably predictable scenario. Who could have seen that coming? The White Sox scoring nobody. Into the second, here's a weakly hit single by Randall Grichuk that splits in between Drew Thorpe's legs. I almost called him Drew Sanders again. I already know I'm going to do that 100 times over the first 20 episodes until I get used to him. Ildemaro Vargas draws a walk, and Thorpe allows 2 guys on here with 1 away. He doesn't look like he has his best stuff early in this game so far. Here is Drake Osborne, first baseman in his big league debut, goes down looking. It's your first career at bat. Why are you passive? They're at 2-2. He's got to be able to swing the stick. Drew Thorpe gets out of the jam, remains scoreless as we go bottom 2. Mike Tauchman leads things off. He's been solid this year, hitting just shy of 250. He draws a walk. That'll bring up Kyle Teel. He's going through the growing pains a month into his big league career. But he sends an absolute rocket into right center. Flips the bat, and all you can forget about it. 417 feet. A piss missile for Kyle Teel. His 3rd home run of the year. And the White Sox are on the board first as they lead at 2-0. What a swing by Kyle Teel. That's why we are so excited about this young man's future. And he has not lit the world on fire through the first month of the year. But I want to keep him up in the big leagues if we can. Continue to get him against big league pitching, because I think it's only a matter of time until he's really going to figure it out. And we see some of the flashes there. A 417-foot nuke. 105 off the bat. 2-0 lead for the Sox into the 3rd. Geraldo Perdomo sends it into left, and Benintendi drops it. Only the Chicago White Sox, folks. He can't even get the ball out. Oh, now you have glue on your hands. Why couldn't you have had glue as you fielded the fly ball before you dropped it? So Perdomo reaches off the error. That'll bring up Ketel Marte now with a full count. And Marte belts it to short. Maton can't hang on. Throw to first. Not in time. A completely unserious defense, as you can see. They're going to credit Marte for the base hit. But it went off of Maton's forearm, I guess. 2 on, 1 away for Suarez. Gets a hanging pitch. He liked it a lot, but got ahead of it. Another K for Thorpe, his 2nd of the ballgame. That'll bring up Peyton Smith. Finds himself behind 1-2. Got him looking. What a pitch by Drew Thorpe. It has not been a pretty 3 innings, but he hasn't allowed any runs. And that's obviously the most important statistic. Still does not look like he has his best stuff, though. Hopefully not a sign of things to come. Granted, those 2 batters in that inning were not his fault. More so because this team is unserious. There's a good take by Andrew Benintendi. That pitch definitely was in the zone. I feel like we've gotten some lucky breaks from these umpires today. I guess they all kind of feel bad for us. 3-2. Benintendi swinging a miss. Ball don't lie as he goes down on strikes. Good pitch there by Merrill Kelly. Full count now for Brian Ramos. The pitch from Kelly, hanging pitch. Over to second, what a play by Marte. Throw to first is in time, and we are through 3. The Sox lead it 2-0. Drew Thorpe has been good, not great so far on the mound. There's a nice pitch, though. Low inside fastball. That'll get Vargas for the first out of the frame. Aramis Garcia, the catcher, is now up for the Diamondbacks. 3-2. Swing and a miss. That would have been ball 4, but he gets fooled by the low circle change. That might be Drew's best pitch of the night. The movement on that pitch was extraordinary. Bottom 4, Vaughn leads it off, and that is a wild pitch. Goes for ball 4 anyway. Kelly's command has been a little shaky, it feels like, in this game. He has inconsistently found the strike zone, but it doesn't matter when you have the White Sox, who cannot hit with base runners on to save their lives. Tauchman grounds into a 4-6-3 double play. That'll bring up Kyle Teal. Count is full. Homered in his last at-bat, a 410-plus foot nuke, and he's looking to do it again. In the left center field, it stays in the ballpark, but it bounces over the fence for a ground rule double. Teal had 4 career extra base hits in 94 at-bats coming into the game. He's got 2 already today with a homer and a double. Dalbec lines it into center, and this one will be caught by Jake McCarthy. Kyle Teal gets a double, but it does not matter. Dalbec unable to drive him in, so it remains 2-0 into the 5th. Here's McCarthy, launches a rocket into right. Tauchman watches it fly. That ball is gone. 366 feet for J-Mac, and the Diamondbacks are on the board as it is now 2-1. His 5th home run of the year. There's the big play that Arizona was waiting for. Geraldo Perdomo now up. Count is full. Swing and a miss on the cutter. Even though Thorpe allowed the home run earlier, I feel like his swing and miss stuff has gotten better as the game has gone along. He has settled in nicely. Ketel Marte now behind 1-2 with 2 away, and he goes down on the sweeper. Good end of the 5th for Thorpe. His pitch count is getting kind of high. I'm not sure if he's going to come back for the 6th. Arizona is on the board with a home run by Jake McCarthy, as it is a 2-1 ball game going into the bottom of the 5th. We haven't gotten much going since the homer by Teal back in the 2nd. Nick Maton goes down on the circle change. His average now below 300 for the first time all year. He's still playing well, but he's coming back down to earth a little bit. As Arizona is going to take Kelly out of the game. This feels like odd timing, I would say. As his final line looks like 4 1/3 innings, 4 hits allowed, 3 walks, 3 Ks, and 2 earned runs. I think he pitched pretty well overall, but his command of the zone definitely was not great. A.J. Puck, the talented lefty out of the bullpen. We know him from the Marlins series back in MLB the Show 23. I feel like his beard has grown. Not only that, but his ability to pitch as well. He's become a really good player as he gets Josh Rojas to go down looking. 2 away now for Luis Robert. The bloop hit back in the 1st. Lines this one into right, and that one will bounce over the fence for a ground rule double, his 13th of the year. Luis Robert with his 2nd hit of the night. 2 on, 2 away for Andrew Benintendi. He's been one of our more consistent bats this year. Has a full count, draws a walk. Good take there. He really wanted to swing the bat, but he was able to tell it was a slider. He was able to tell it was going to continue to push outside. That's still a really good pitch, though, by Puck. 2 on, 2 away for Brian Ramos, who pops this one up into the outfield. Pavin Smith will make the play, and that is 2 more runners left on base by the Chicago White Sox. Into the 6th, we are going to go to the bullpen. I want to get a look at Grant Holman, who's pitched really well for us so far this year. 4 scoreless innings, as he will start things off with a Eugenio Suarez. He's 0 for 2 today. And Suarez hits this one well into right. Tauchman after it at the track, at the wall, and he cannot make the play. Bounces off the wall. It'll go for a double as Robert relays it in quickly. A good start to the inning, though, for the Diamondbacks as they get a runner in scoring position for Randall Grichuk. Finds himself behind 1-2 with 1 away. Swinging to this on the high fastball. A good pitch by Holman for the 2nd out of the frame. And that will bring up the number 7 hitter, Ildemaro Vargas, in a big spot in this game. And he hits this one into right. Tauchman cannot get over to it quick enough, as that one looks like it could go for 2. Throw to second is well offline from Tauchman. Another bad defensive play. The run is obviously able to score, and we are now tied at 2. Yet another really good start by Drew Thorpe, where he will not get the win. Aramis Garcia now down the line. Fair ball. Vargas rounding third, heads home. It's an RBI single for Garcia. Holman has now allowed 2 runs here in this inning after not having allowed any through his first 4 appearances as a White Sox. Andrew Vaughn up 3-1, draws a walk. Puck's command has also been kind of shaky. We are taking advantage. A lot of free base runners. Have we capitalized with those free base runners? No, we have not. But at least we're getting them as Tauchman goes down on the slider. Nice pitch by Puck. That'll bring up Kyle Teal. This one splits between the shortstop and third baseman for a single. Teal is now 3 for 3. His batting average has gone up by over 20 points today. His OPS has gone up nearly 100 points so far in this game. Bobby Dalbec now gets a piece of it into right. Smith at the track, at the wall. It is gone! 3-run blast for Bobby Dalbec. And the White Sox lead it 5-3, his 3rd home run of the year, and it comes at a great time. Bobby Dalbec has been mashing the cover off the ball here in the month of June, and he keeps it rolling to put the White Sox back up by 2. Arizona's going to go to the bullpen. The 2022 All-Star Joe Mantiply will replace Puck. 3.56 ERA. We'll see if the White Sox can keep the momentum rolling. Lefty still in the game. Maton hits lefties pretty well. Case in point, Perdomo deflects it. There will be no throw to first, however. It's an infield single with 1 away for Nick Maton. And with still only 1 out and the top of the order coming up, we've got a nice chance to add to this lead. Brandon Drury in as a pinch hitter for Rojas. He draws a walk. 2 on, 1 away now for Luis Robert. A pair of hits today. Lines it up the middle, right into the glove of Marte. Perdomo over to first. Inning-ending double play. Situational hitting continues to be shaky, but I cannot complain too much. We had a 3-run homer in that inning, for Christ's sakes, by Big Bombs Bobby. Into the 7th, Jake McCarthy swinging a miss. I want to get another inning out of Holman. I think he's got the energy to potentially go a second frame, and he's looking quite good here as he strikes out Geraldo Perdomo. I decided to take him out, though, with 2 gone. I didn't want him against Marte just in case his energy had dipped a little bit. And we're going to go with Dan Altavilla, who's obviously missed some time, but when he's played, I think he's been our best, certainly our most consistent reliever, despite missing 5 weeks. Count is full here for Marte. 2 for 3, only hitting .249, though, this year. But he will draw a walk and is now aboard for the Diamondbacks as Suarez swings and misses at the fastball. Good job in that inning by Holman to get the early 2 strikeouts, and then Altavilla to finish off the job. Still 5-3 going into the bottom of the 7th as the veteran righty John Curtis is into the game. The ever-solid Pros Pro as a 3.5 ERA on the year. It's been a quiet one so far for Brian Ramos, and he goes down on the 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I felt like the strikeout rate has been kind of high with him this year. Plate vision is his strength. The K's need to go down. Into the 8th, broken back from Pavin Smith as Altavilla is still in the game. 2 away here for Vargas. Sends this one into the corner in right. Tauchman after it, and he will make the play. Nice grab there at the wall by Mike Tauchman. It remains 5-3. Altavilla does a good job recording those 4 outs, and we will move into the bottom half of the frame with the righty Ryan Thompson into the game. 3.6 ERA on the year. It's been an impressive one for Kyle Teal. 3 for 3 for the rookie. I don't think that's going to be a 4th hit. He was a triple shy of the cycle. And, folks, that is not a triple. It is a fly out to left. Still a great performance, though, from Teal. I said after the homer, I hoped that would help him figure things out. And, well, certainly looked like he's figuring some things out today as Bobby Dalbec goes down on the slider. Good pitch by Thompson, and now we'll see if we can finish things out here in the 9th with the closer, Penn Murphy, who has not had a good month really at all. His ERA has climbed up into the low 5s. He'll face off against Drake Osborne with 1 away. Swinging a miss. That one comes in at just 89, and that's fast for Penn Murphy, unlike a lot of today's modern relievers who throw as hard as they can. McCarthy keeps it alive with a single into left. That'll bring up the tying run. We've got to get Perdomo here. I do not want Ketel Marte at the plate. He's reached base 3 times. Liner to first. Dalbec picks it up, tags the base, and the White Sox win the first of 3 here at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks by the score of 5-3. Another really good start for Drew Thorpe. He does not get the win himself, but at least his team got the win. Bullpen did a good enough job despite a shaky inning from Holman. And the offense was pretty solid. 8 hits, 6 walks. Great plate discipline today. We only got our runs off of 2 plays, though. The 2-run homer by Kyle Teel in the bottom of the 2nd. He was our best hitter today. And then Bobby Dalbec, the 3-run homer in the 6th. That was the play that won it. More on Teel, though. Great to see him hitting the ball well. His average went up 23 points. It was 181 coming into the day. Now it's 204, which still is not great, but at least it's above the Mendoza line. So with that, we improve our record to 27-52. Hopefully we can keep it going with a 6-game homestand, continuing the series against Arizona. And then our good friends from San Francisco, our first time playing against the Giants since using the Giants as our franchise team. We're going to simulate through these next few games leading up to the end of the month, where, of course, as I said earlier, we're going to talk some scouting. We're going to look at some player film today. Tied at 1 here in the top of the 10th. We ended up winning the second game, by the way, 5-0 with a really good start from Jairo Iriarte. He threw 7 scoreless. Let's see if we can get the sweep. It would be our first of the year as Randall Grichuk strikes out on the fastball. Good pitch there by James Karinchak. And ultimately, the White Sox would walk it off. In the bottom of the 10th, Luis Robert with a sac fly. It's not sexy, but it gets the job done. And for the first time this year, the White Sox have swept an opponent. It's a 3-game winning streak, our largest of the season. Actually, really, it's a 4-game winning streak if you include the last game against Toronto. I know that's not great, but we take the small victories around here. The offense was mediocre, again, a really bad month for us at the plate, but Jonathan Cannon had a great start. All 3 games against the Diamondbacks, the starting pitching was terrific, which continues to show why our rotation is really good. Our reward for the sweep is Michael A. Taylor breaking his foot, and he'll go on the 60-day. Now, Taylor is not had a very good season at the plate. His OPS starts with a 4, but his WAR is still just about even because he's such a good defensive player. We're going to bring up Corey Julks, who I really wanted to make the team out of spring ball. He did not. Started the minor league season slow, but he's played really well over the last month. Hits lefties really well, and I'm anticipating he'll stay on the big league team the rest of the year. Miguel Vargas is back healthy. We're going to send down Dominic Fletcher, who's really not played well here in the month of June. I'm actually excited about Vargas. I know he's got his weaknesses, but he played pretty well before he got hurt. So that'll bring us to this series against the San Francisco Giants. We lost the first game 3-0. Good start by Davis Martin. Better start by our good friend Kyle Harrison. And then here in the 7th, it is scoreless. Through 16 innings, we have scored 0 runs in this series. Bryce Wilson has been awesome for us. He threw 6 scoreless. Hayden Birdsong led the way for the Giants. We are in for Josh Rojas, who has a hit streak on the line. It's not going to happen there. He flies out to left, where it is caught by Hunter Bishop. Still scoreless through 7. This offense is just a total mess. We would finally score, though. RBIs on walks for Kyle Teel and Miguel Vargas. We can't hit the ball, but we can drive guys in by walking. 2 on, 2 away. Top prospect Bryce Eldridge is up for the Giants. Big spot here for him as the potential go-ahead runner. Lines it over to right. It is caught, and the White Sox win it 2-0. Our offense was horrible again, though. We only had 3 hits, but we drew 10 walks. I give this team credit. The plate discipline has been really good as of recent. We may not be able to hit the ball, but we can look at bad pitches being thrown. Camilo Doval got the loss. He allowed the 2 runs. Neither of them were earned, though, off of an error from Brett Wisely. So our offense sucked, but I guess the Giants' offense sucked a little bit more. We're not going to go through this last game, though, because it is a scouting day. And as I mentioned, obviously, we're going to go through scouting in today's episode. I'm excited to talk about these prospects. I think it is a stacked draft class. And obviously, being as bad of a team as the White Sox were, having won 41 games last year, it's nice that we get a top pick. Oh, wait, no, we don't. Since the White Sox had a top 5 pick in 2024, they could not pick higher than 10 this year. That is awfully depressing. Now, I will say There are more than 10 really good players in this class. We're going to get some good prospects, I think. It is loaded at the top in terms of pitchers. A lot of position players I like, though, and I'm excited to dive deeper into some of these guys. And make sure to let me know in the comments who you guys think we should pick with the draft coming in the next episode. So our scouts seem to think the very best players in this draft are pitchers. I haven't really done a ton of work on the relievers, though, but more so the starters. I don't like to draft relievers too often. There are a couple guys who I think have no chance of falling to us at number 10. Our scouts think Tom Daniels is the best player in the draft. Tops out at 99. He's not going to fall to our pick. Joey Lincoln, the projected number 1 pick. He looks like the real deal. Good 4-pitch mix. He's not going to fall to 10. I think there's a good shot, though, that Felipe Liriano, the 19-year-old righty from Puerto Rico, will fall to the 10th pick. And based on his scouting ranking, I think this is the guy our scouts are going to tell us to pick. 6'3", 186, good hits per 9, good home runs per 9. The walks per 9 is really low, which is a major red flag for me. But he's got a solid group of 4 pitches. Fastball tops at 97, slider at 92. So I like the skill set, but I don't like the walks per 9 being super low. Rolando Bell, talented lefty from UCLA. There are a couple junior college guys in this draft, but I decided to put them from actual schools because, well, that way we can form more of a connection with them. He's projected to go in the early 2nd, but if we want him, we need to pick him at number 10, and I would absolutely consider it. I think this guy is really good. His per 9s are all really good. Throws hard. He's got good stuff. Fastball tops at 99. He's got a really nice sweeping curve with a lot of movement on it. I think he's one of the 2 or 3 best pitching prospects in this draft. It's interesting that he's a lefty because if we were to add him, our top 3 pitching prospects would all be lefties with him, Hagen Smith, and Noah Schultz. I think Thomas Daniel is a name to keep an eye on, definitely for the 2nd round. We had the 40th pick in round 2, and he's projected at 41. We got to watch him in the perfect game, All-American Showcase. I thought he looked pretty solid. But again, his walks per 9 rating is horrible, which, again, is a big turnoff for me. I like drafting pitchers in the 2nd round, but I like drafting pitchers who fit. Alexis Cosmo, 22-year-old from Ole Miss. I like his skill set quite a bit. I do want to talk about a young arm here, 18-year-old high schooler by the name of George Groniga. You might recognize this name if you watch the Giants franchise because we drafted a player in Season 2 by the name of George Groniga. They actually kind of look alike. They've got to be like long-lost cloned siblings or something. Well, Groniga here is a pitcher. He is from Illinois. We got to watch him in the Perfect Game Showcase as well. I really like him. I think he's a good choice for the 2nd round, projected at pick 40. We have pick 40, but again, his walks per 9 is also really not good, which is a concern for me, but I do like his upside. I think the ceiling is definitely there with him, but he's raw and has a lot of work to do. I usually like to avoid drafting pitchers in the 1st round because usually these classes are deep with pitchers, but I don't really feel like that's the case this year. If we want a guy like Rolando Bell at number 10, we might have to do that. In terms of relievers, I might scout a couple of these guys before the draft. It doesn't hurt to look at some relievers. I remember in the first draft of the Giants series, I scouted some relievers late, and I came across Fernando Molina, who we ended up picking, and he ended up being really good for us as we moved him over to a starting pitcher. I put most of my scouting focus for this draft into position players, though, because we have more talent in the farm system in terms of the pitching staff. With a team as bad as us, I'm not going to draft for need. I'm focused on getting the best player available at all of our picks, but I'd love to land 1 or 2 premier hitting prospects. I haven't really looked at the catchers, though, because that's a position we're really strong at. DeAndre Flynn, I don't really think I'm going to consider at 10. Rico Santos, though, is an interesting one. I haven't really done a ton of work on him, but we watched him at the University of Illinois. Switch hitter with a great power bat. I think I'm going to scout him over these last couple of weeks. I think he might be best suited to play another position anyway, maybe a corner infield spot. I think as a 21-year-old switch-hitting college bat, he could be an intriguing option for us, number 10 overall. Not a particularly deep catcher class, though, as we look at first base. I haven't scouted Brian Ortiz or Julian Villalobos yet. I definitely want to scout at least one of those guys over the last 2 weeks. But it is first base. I would rather get a middle infielder or an outfielder, ideally. And that's where I think this class is strong, especially at second base. There's 3 guys who we're going to look at with the number 10 pick. All 3 of these guys are probably at the top of our list for pick 10, and that starts with Nick Conrath, an 18-year-old switch hitter from Maryland. I think he is the highest ceiling of any position player in this draft. 6'4", 195 pounds. He can hit both sides of the plate really well. I think he's raw, though. I also think he's going to grow out of second base, probably more of a third baseman long term, but the upside with him is really, really high. Then we look at Oswaldo Escobedo, the 18-year-old from the Dominican Republic. I think he's super polished for his age. Great contact hitter. The power is not bad at all. The glove is pretty solid. I think he's a guy who could be a big league contributor by the time he's 19 or 20. I think his ceiling is a little bit lower than Conrath, but not by that much. I think he's got the chance to be a really good player. I don't think he ends up falling to the 10th pick, but there's certainly a shot he does. And if he is available at 10, we're certainly going to look at him. We have not scouted Willie Vaccaro yet, but I will over these last 2 weeks. 6'5", 240. He is a giant. Switch hitter from the Dominican Republic. Great contact. Given his size and build, I think he's got power upside. Rick Earnhardt's a college prospect I like quite a bit. Sherwood Olsen, we scouted only a little bit. His draft rank is 36th, even though he's projected to go 13. I think that more so shows how good the rest of this draft is, but clearly our scouts are not overly intrigued by him. As we move over to third base, there's two guys I've really got my eye on here. Neither of them are projected to go until the late first, early second, but if we want them, we might have to pick them at 10. That starts with Carlton Ross from Pitt, one of the top hitters in the country this year. He has dominated for the Panthers. Good contact, good power. He's small, though, 5'7", 167. And then Freddie Cestaro from Rutgers is not much bigger, 5'8", 163. But despite that, he's one of the best power hitters in America. He leads the Big Ten in home runs. This guy mashes. His contact is a little inconsistent, but I think it's good enough. Combine that with solid plate skills, he could be a really good choice for us in the second round. Chris Salazar solid as well. There's former Cy Young winner Robbie Ray. I guess he has reincarnated himself as a third baseman. Shortstop, it is a really weak class. There's not a lot here, I've got to be completely honest. But as we move to the outfield, though, this is the strength of the class. There's a lot of good outfielders here, including Alfonso Lozano, who's projected to go in the top 3. Big 6'4" power bat from Dallas Baptist University. Our scouts don't appear to be that high on him. I did a ton of work with him. I figured he's a guy who, if he falls to 10, we would have to be comfortable with potentially taking, but our scouts don't appear to really like him. Not a ton of depth in left, but that's not the case for center field. There are some really good players here. A few guys who we discovered who are completely off most draft radars in the case of Douglas Cato, Pedro Valdez, and Anderson Blackburn. We'll start with Blackburn. I'm probably going to scout him more over these next couple of weeks. He's a guy we are certainly going to consider, though, an 18-year-old high school bat from the state of Oregon. We got to see him with the Team USA under-18 Nationals squad. Really good contact hitter, really good plate skills. This is someone who projects as a leadoff type hitter with his speed as well. Not a great defensive player, though, and he doesn't really have much power upside, but he's your traditional contact type center fielder. Pedro Valdez, meanwhile, it's weird that we discovered him because it's not hard to find him. From Puerto Rico, plays at Florida State, 6'4", 230. He is a large human being. But I think it's more so that his numbers are not necessarily that impressive. He's a good but not great player for the Seminoles, but I think it's the physical upside, given his size, given his speed, given his intangibles, that our scouts really like. He might be raw for his age, but he's got a shot to be a really good player. And then Douglas Cato, I'm hoping to scout him more before we get to the draft. I think the fact that his ratings and potentials are kind of close together, that's not a great sign, but it is interesting. And then we look at Robbie Girard from South Dakota State. He's been the best player in the Summit League since he was an 18-year-old true freshman. Now at 20, he has put his name on the map as one of the best players in the country. And even though his potential doesn't look that high, I am 1,000% considering him at pick 10. I want guys who can contribute right away at the big league level. Robbie Girard can do that. The guy can flat out hit. Good contact, good power, good plate skills. He's fast, good enough glove. There's no weaknesses to his game. He's got a smooth lefty swing. And I think with him being a really good player, getting offers from big-time programs in the transfer portal, but staying at South Dakota State, his hometown school, says a lot about his character. Those are the types of guys I want to build this culture around. And because of that, Robbie Girard is firmly on my radar with that 10th pick. In right field, 2 guys projected in the top 5. I believe the highest projected position players. Our scouts don't seem to love Miguel Castilla. Good defensive ratings. Don't know about the offense there. And again, I think his overall and potential are kind of too close together to where I think that's going to limit his ceiling. Daniel Pura, though, the 18-year-old from Canada, is a guy I really like. Don't think he makes it to 10, but if he does, 1,000% we'll consider him as well. 6'2", 200 pounds. I think he can grow into his body even more, which helps his potential power profile. Already a great contact hitter. Hits from both sides of the plate. Great vision, great discipline. I think he is quite polished for somebody at his age. I like the depth in this outfield class as well. We talked about the players who our scouts discovered, but in the 4th, 5th round, there are good players down the board. And as I said, I feel like this is legitimately a loaded draft class. We're going to get 3 or 4 really strong prospects if our scouts are correct, and that makes me really excited. The farm system already is pretty solid. We know how good Noah Schultz has been. We know how good Hagen Smith, the first rounder last year, has been. Guys like Teal, Caro, both of the Montgomerys I'm really excited about. And we're going to add some ballers through the draft, hopefully. Those are the guys we're going to scout for Week 13. As I said, I wanted more on Cato. I want more on Nick Conrath. I want to take a look at Vaccaro, the other big 6'5" second baseman. All 3 of those guys we're going to heavily consider. The 2 second basemen we're going to look at with pick 10 if they're on the board. Before we wrap things up, though, once again, make sure to give me some players who stood out positively or negatively in the comments. I do want to mention that Luis Robert has broken his career walks mark. Walk rate just shy of 11%. That's a really good number for him. Some guys who stood out to me today, obviously Kyle Teal had the great game against Arizona. Nick Maton continues to rake. This has been really fun to watch over these 40 games. He has been very impressive. Bobby Dalbec has been great, only 40 at-bats, but he has mashed the cover off the ball, OPS at 1030. He feels like a really good wheel spin candidate. Everyone in the rotation's been good. Bryce Wilson has been absolutely fantastic. 2.25 ERA, 1.07 whip. He's a guy whose value is going up, and we're going to have to figure out if he's a trade deadline candidate or a player who we feel like we can build around for the future. Also, again, don't forget to let me know who you think we should draft in this year's class, particularly at number 10 overall. I haven't exactly figured out how I'm going to format the draft. Normally, the draft gets its standalone episode, but I don't plan on that being the case here in this series. I want to get through a large portion of July as well in the next episode leading up to the trade deadline. So that'll wrap things up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.